Good morning, Crystal Besties. Hey, it's Mike, and I am doing the design of the day. So I found all of these different Tired Moms Club. This actually came in as a request from one of my friends. And there's all these different versions out there in the world. And so I fed a bunch of different versions that I found into ChatGPT and into Gemini, and I came up with 3 of my own versions. So, you can't copyright ideas. You can just copyright designs. And so we're going to do our own design. And Gemini came up with all these different ones, and ChatGPT came up with some of these with Gemini and ChatGPT, okay? And I decided that I really liked a couple of these. So kept kind of feeding in and talking about different things that I liked. And this is like the final one that I came up with. So this one right here is what I like the most. And so I'm actually going to use this one and some elements from this one, and we're going to try to put this together. And so we're at the stage where I'm feeding in the individual elements. So we're taking each individual element and we're rendering it isolated. Like here's the T and here's the I. And so we're just going to take each one of these and keep improving it and making it better, and then put it all back together in our final composition. So I've got a prompt I'm using over and over again. Let's do this leopard print E. I'm just changing this part right here. Isolated and white, vector art style, enhance and enlarge, focus on the fine details. And so far it's been okay. It's not been perfect, but it's been doing a pretty good job. So I just have Photoshop up with the design, and I just keep selecting that area with the marquee tool and hitting Control C. And then I paste it in here, and I grab my prompt, and I say, let's do this pink and purple D. Oops, helps if I don't make typos. I always do that when you're watching. Isolated on white. All right, boom. And so there's the D that we had originally. And there's the refined D. See how it's just so much sharper and clearer, so much more detail has been added. So that's going to really make a big difference in the final composition. As each one finishes, I'm just downloading that image and stacking them up so that I have all my pieces. Okay, I'm on my last piece, and I have done, different elements from the 2 designs that I liked. So I've just got a mixture of all the elements to play with. Okay, now we're going to upscale them. So I have my elements in my folder, in my downloads folder, and it's sorting, in reverse order. So like the last one that was edited is the first one, and so I just go to the start and start there. And then just upscale it. We don't need that much on each one of these, but we want to be able to take the background off and have a clean cut. So I'm just going to go, 3x on all these elements. And we don't even have to wait for it to finish. We can select our next image before it's even done. And then hit upscale. Select our next image. We have to actually wait for it to finish before it'll start upscaling the next piece. But if you've got a really fast computer, this goes pretty fast. Boom. Okay, that's my last one. And so now we want to do some cleanup. So we're going to change this back to just large icons, and we're going to find the starting points of all these upscales. So I'm going to click clients and then downloads. Okay, that's reorganized my setup here. Let's find the last one. There's my club. There's the start of where I say upscale. So let's just get rid of all of these. And then we're going to name them. So we're just going to go through and rename each one. Just something simple, just so that we don't have a huge document full of ChatGPT generated images. Just give each thing a name. Okay, Okay, now I'm going to take my document and I'm going to increase the image size. So I just want to increase it to something that will allow me to, design larger than I need to, and then we'll shrink it. So we're going 20 inches, and that'll accommodate for the white space I've got on the sides. And we're just going to take all of our rendered images, all of these guys, and we're just going to drag them all in. I'm just going to hit enter on each one, and each will come in as its own layer and be named, and hopefully be sort of in the order that I need them. I don't see my D. Yeah, I was missing my D and I was missing my S. Now we've got them. So I'm going to do that S first, actually, because it's an important one. And it's important because the way we're going to take this background off is going to be, we're also going to remove this element. So let's just select, actually let's remove the element first. That's what we need to do. So we're just going to grab our marquee tool and we're going to draw really precisely just right around this element and see if we can get Photoshop to remove it for us. So you've got this little contextual taskbar. It was off the screen because it's kind of a free floating bar. And so I'm just going to select that part and hit remove and let Photoshop's AI kind of figure out what I want to put there. And it doesn't always do a good job. We may have to paint it in. Well, it did a great job this time. Okay, let's take the background off. So we're just going to grab our magic wand. We're at 80. Contiguous is checked. We're going to hit Control D because I don't have sample all layers on and I need to merge down, Control E, my remove tool edits. All right, so we'll just do that. Click, select, modify, expand. We're just going to go in 1 pixel so we don't have any white edges. Right click, layer from background, hit OK and delete. Then we're going to do image trim, transparent pixels, and then we're just going to hit Control S to save. And that should pull us back and actually have that image saved. So there's my S with the background removed. So I'm just going to complete this for all the elements. Now sometimes the selection tries to get into parts that we don't want, so we just hold Alt and we deselect that part. So we just circled around the part that we wanted to keep. And then we do that select, modify, expand, 1 pixel. Right click, layer from background, OK, delete, image trim, transparent pixels, Control S. And it's a great time to save our document. So we're going to do File, Save As. We're going to call this Tired Moms Club Ransom Note. And we're just going to save that. And then we can right click and hit Close Others and just go ahead and close all the other images. So I hit no, it was off the screen. No as in I don't want to save anything because I'm just saving what I need. So here's one that's a real problem. Like you see what's happening there. And so we can fix that. We can make that a lot easier. Like it's just coming right through this little crack. We can just finish this part of it off. Let's just get a real thin line and just finish it off. Oop, not thin enough. I'm using my brush tool adjustment there on the, just finish that off. See, we will just connect this part. I am not happy with it and I am obsessing about it. Let's just connect it. No one's gonna see it. We zoom out, it's gone. All right, so I tried to select again and it's walking right through there. So we'll just Control D, B for brush tool. Let's just finish this off. Now select, awesome. Items like this, we would just want to get rid of this part. We're just gonna grab our lasso tool and just select around here. And then this piece over here, we're just going to hold Alt. So I held Shift to expand my selection. I'm holding Alt to reduce my selection. All right, and then don't forget your little expand. 1 pixel, layer from background, OK, delete, image trim, transparent, save. And I find it's good to close these layers as you go so that you're not filling up your Photoshop and making it hard to find your actual document. If you do forget to close a bunch, you can just close others on your main document. So I wanted to point out that things like this, we just want to remove that shadow. We can add a shadow if we want to later, but we definitely don't want to try to have a shadow against white. Say this was going to go on black. These I decided to render as a piece. I mean, one, because I was getting a little tired and a little bit frustrated with each individual element. And then I just also thought that on this overall design, that club all being consistent was going to be a great move. Okay, and I can see all the way through to my inspiration image, and I'm able to start arranging our assets. So I'm going to start out by organizing them. I mean, they're pretty much in the order we need them, for the most part. I know this M goes above the other one. Oh, it goes above the heart. There's tired, there's bolt, there's star blue. Just drop it. There's the heart. Yeah, there's my M1. So these accent pieces, star, bolt, star blue, all of this, we could group this and we can call this background. And then we could move that down. You know, smiley goes in there, calendar goes in there, bow goes in there, and club, yeah, heart M2, coffee. Coffee is really not a background, right? It's important. There's our tired. There's our star silver, heart purple. Let's just select that flower. Let's select that stick man. Yeah, there's our S. I'm just grabbing all those layers and I'm trying to slide them into this background. And there's our S. It goes after M1 here. And now let's just put these together. Let's group these. So this is tired. That's coffee. We'll group these. That's moms. And then there's our club. All right, so let's just turn all these background elements off. Let's turn off our club. Let's turn off our moms. And let's just work with our tired elements. So these are all smart objects, so like moving them off the page or resizing them shouldn't have any effect. Let's just grab this whole tired thing and move it out of the way. Let's go ahead and size up our coffee. So I just hit Control T and I'm not holding Shift. And we should give that coffee a little angle. All right, and then we'll just open up our tired group and we'll put our T in place. We definitely don't have to follow the exact placement. I mean, we're making this our own, so we can just start playing and do what we like. Okay, so I've set up some overlaps here. I've got R overlapping E and E overlapping D. And so I'm just going to turn off this background so we can really see what we're doing. And we're just going to work on that final placement without the influence of the background. This D needs to be a little bigger. And, you know, the baseline of these letters, you know, could be worried about them being pretty perfect, but this is kind of like that ransom note style, so we're not gonna obsess about that. So let's just look at how we can do a drop shadow. We can't have a drop shadow that exits. It can only go on another element, okay? So let's just do a duplicate layer of this one. And on this bottom, I'm gonna put this R copy right over the E. I'm going to call this our shadow. And I'm going to add a drop shadow. So I'm going to do blending options, drop shadow. Let's get the distance going out a little bit here. I'm going to lower the opacity. I do want it to be pretty. Okay, so we're adjusting our shadow. We're going to make the distance more. And spread is at 100. Let's just make this size come out. So there's our little shadow. We don't need that much opacity. It's just a little hint of, something is coming over from this other element. Like this element's just a little bit in front. I'm probably overemphasizing it. So spread is going to, there we go. That's nice, okay? Now, but you can see that it's all out here. Now, those are going to be semi-transparent pixels, so we don't want that. And that's why we duplicated the layer. We're going to right-click on this and create a clipping mask. So the shadow's just going to go on that layer. And we'll just do the same thing. I'm going to copy this layer style. I'm going to duplicate this E. I'm going to pull it down. And I'm going to call it E shadow. I'm going to paste that layer style and then create the clipping mask against the D. So now those things look like they're interacting with each other. And as silly as it is, little subtle bits like that, I mean, if you take them away after you've seen them, you really miss them. Okay, so there's our tired. And now we're just going to turn our background back on, and we're going to do moms. So we'll collapse up the tired group and dive into moms. I'm just going to do the same kind of positioning and layering. And I picked up a tip from my efforts on the last one. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the whole group and scale it as a piece, so that at least I don't have to sit there and get them all exactly. I mean, they're all going to be scaled individually, but now they're about the right size when I get started. And I decided to put the heart above the M's. And I'm just going to paste that same, we're going to, duplicate the layer. Sometimes I struggle to find that. It's way up here. It kind of seems to move around on me. And we'll pull this down, and we're going to call that heart shadow. And then I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'll group these two M's. And I'll call that M's. And then we'll paste that layer style with that shadow on it. And that's going to affect both of them slightly. And then we'll try clipping that to the group. So now it's clipped to the group. Yeah, and I see it on both of them. There they are. So I just made the decision to put my coffee in my tired group. And I'm just going to put it down here at the bottom. Try to keep it in the group, but yeah, so there's my tired group. There's my moms. There's my club. And I've just decided that even as crazy as this image is, I need some centering, so I'm just going to take this, and I've got all three of my main elements selected, and I've just aligned the canvas, and we're just going to center them, just so it's just a little better. As crazy as this design is, we just want it to be somewhat look like somebody put some thought into it. All right. And now I'm looking at my spacing. So, there's my general line. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is pretty good. So I'm going to do that same trick with the background layer. So we're just going to hit Control-T on all of it at once and scale it, because they're all going to be pretty small. And we know we can scale them back up if we need to. So let's just make them pretty small. And we'll put our little stick figure guy down here. Scaling, if you hold Alt, it'll scale proportionally. It's just a little guy. We're going to put our flower over here. Kind of like a little overlap on that flower, and I feel like the flower actually should move to the top. So we'll just put that, we'll group that, we'll call this foreground. So I spend a lot of my time thinking about the different elements and where they need to be as far as in the document. So we'll put this star, that silver star. Let's collapse up our tired and our moms, and we'll stick this up here. I do like that star overlapping. And if I want to do a star shadow, I'm going to need to duplicate that layer and then put it in tired, paste that layer style, and clip it to the T. Ooh, it'd be really, yeah, no, I'm getting too fancy. Let's just clip it to the T and let it be. Ooh, and let's give it a little bit of a jaunty angle. So let's select both of those layers. And we'll make it a little bit bigger because I really like the shiny star. Move it up. Okay. And I just positioned that star, and I'm going to duplicate that layer. And I'm just going to flip it. Ooh, flip horizontal. And then I'm going to scale it just a tiny bit so it's just a little different, and just plop it over here. And I've just noticed that I'd like my M to shadow that S, if I can pull that off. So I'm just going to take this M and duplicate it. And I'll pull it out of this group, put it right above my S. And then I'll paste that layer style, and then I'll create the clipping mask to the S. And so we've got these two accents. We've got our, I'm gonna turn this background layer off. We've got our blue accents for this side, and then we've got our yellow accents for this other side. And I really want them to be about the same size. Okay, so let's look and see what we've got. So let's just start, collapsing everything up. We're going to collapse all our layers up, all our groups. And I'm going to select everything that's part of the overall design and group it and call this artwork. And that will allow us to turn off our background and look at it. There's our design. And turn off our artwork and look at how things are different or changed. And it might be nice even to add here, let's just add a solid color. We're going to add white. We'll pull that below our background. And then when we turn on our artwork, the whole thing jumps. So now I see that we're missing elements that are back here, but I really don't want to fill those in because I want to give the shirt room to breathe. So I like the fact, and I like that, this is Tired Mom's Club. This angle works for me. But I just feel like ours is missing. It's got some holes. This is a really busy design, and I hate to add more to it, but I think we have to. So let's just dive into our background layers and let's see what we can recreate, what we can use over and over again. So here's our blue star. Let's duplicate that blue star and let's flip it. We'll flip it and we'll rotate it, and then we'll just put it right down here. And let's take this is our yellow star. We'll just put another one of those yellow stars right down here. And we'll just fill in these background elements. So here's a useful feature where you're at the positioning stage. See this auto select? I'm just turning on auto select. Usually that gets in my way, but with it on, I can just kind of fine tune different placements and select different elements. And I really think that actually helps a lot. So I think what we need is a bunch more of these little stars. You know, I think that the little yellow stars are going to be the element we use the most of. So I'm going to take all of these and I'll group them. And I'll call this main yellow stars. And then I'm going to duplicate that group. And I'm going to move it all the way up here to our foreground. And I'll call this small. And then I'm just going to size them all as a piece. I put them on the foreground so I could see them. We'll make them pretty small. Let's just make them real small. And then let's duplicate those layers. And then I'm going to scoot those duplicated layers. I'll turn off that auto select so it doesn't actually mess me up. And just scoot those duplicated layers. So I actually don't mind some of them over top of things. I think that's fine. Let's take all of these and duplicate them one more time. And then let's just move them all around. Heck, let's rotate them and see what happens. And then I'll turn my auto select back on, and since these are on top, it'll be real easy to pull them and move them. So I'm just trying to fill out like a little overlap, but we can keep putting them in the holes. I think we can do some more of these blue stars. I just want a real small version. I'm looking for my little yellow stars that are too much. This one, we'll take this one, put it down here. I'll take this one and put it over here. We'll flip that one. We'll duplicate it. Move it up and transform it. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that is our final Tired Moms Club design. All right, let's take a look at this. Let's do the most important test and look at it against black. And I think it's cute. I think elements could be tightened up, you know, and things could be like a little more overlapping. But in general, like I said, that's just going to make the shirts heavier. I think there's little tweaks we can do. But I really think I like it. Awesome. All right. Hey, I'm going to put this up, this video up, and I'm going to put this design out there for everybody in the group to be able to download. And just know that I really appreciate you all and really appreciate you watching my tutorials and learning along with me. All right. Have a great day. Thanks for being a customer of crystaldtf.com. Take care.